Well, now I get to um, invite our First Minister here to come back up and be our guest minister, our Reverend Douglas Craig, and he's going to be talking about the metaphysical meaning of Easter. Reverend Doug.
Don't want to do that. Whoa!
Lots of embarrassing moments.
Well, before he gets started there, anybody going through any change or transformation lately? Yeah, well, if you didn't put your hand up, you're not aware of what's going on in your life. So that happens all the time. But every now and again, we go through a major shift, okay? And it's a lot more dramatic. again and again, we can actually make it worse and get more upset and intense 15 years down the line when we tell the story than when it happened to us. Okay? So it's about moving away from that and being willing to let it go. And that's, you got to let go of the good stuff too. And the bad stuff. And it sounds easy, but if it was so easy, how come all of us are still doing the bad stuff that we don't want anymore? And we keep saying, well, I want to change that, and we don't. Is there anybody else, or is that just me? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? And so it's not thinking that you're going to get the slate wiped clean all at one time, because it ain't going to happen. But it does make the journey better. And I could tell you from my personal experience, it was worth it, because everything I do because I choose to do it, and because I like it, and because it gives me peace, prosperity, fulfillment, and happiness. And I don't care about the rest. And sometimes even get money for it. But other things come along the line. You never know what's going to happen. You know, my good friend, I'm doing a little commercial here, but Reverend Nadine Rogers goes into centers that are in transition and takes them over for 6 months to a year and gets them all started again. And sometimes there's marketing issues, and she's got a marketing person. Sometimes there's financial issues, and so she brings me in to consult. And then a lot of times I get to go on Sundays and do Zoom talks. And I'm working on going to do a live one in the fall, a couple of ones in Santa Rosa and San Jose in some of my programs. So why not? Well, you're 76, you should be retired and taking it easy. Well, I am retired and taking it easy. Okay? You can have a whole lot of fun putting the pedal to the metal if you do it the right way, for the right reasons. Okay? Well, you say, I don't know, I don't want to wait 45 years to get that far. Well, you're going to be doing it when you get 45 years now, because there's always something to know and learn. So with that being said, let us now begin with an opening meditation. So let's just go within and take a moment. Take a moment to be willing to realize and recognize that there is that only one eternal life. Everything is of this one eternal life, and that's God's life. And God is centered everywhere and circumference nowhere. So there's not a spot where God is not. So as I declare this and claim this for myself, I know it to be truth for each one here. And I know that as we journey through transformational change and normal change, I know that the light of God surrounds us, and that the love of God enfolds us, and the power of God protects us, and the Spirit of God within us, through us, and by means of us, watches over us. And wherever God is, I am. So with that declared and accepted, there's a willingness right here and right now to be open and receptive to new awareness and understanding of the annual Easter experience. So let's just take a moment to clear the inner channel and to be fully present here for the next hour, beginning with now in the silence for a few moments. So I give thanks knowing that my mind is like a parachute. It's totally open in order to work. And I go forward knowing that what is shared today has some meaning and some inspiration for me in some area of my life, or maybe all areas. So I give thanks for what I've received, knowing that God is great, God is good, so am I, and so it is. I like that little reading that Therese was doing. She talked about the transformative power of spirit and how when we're going through change, by the way, you can't escape change. You can escape taxes and you can escape death, but not of the body, but you can escape death, but you can't escape change. Okay? And that's it. And this is the thing about the Easter experience, where Jesus goes through the giving up of the old, the darkness of change, and then the rebirth. And we all go through that in change. That's a natural part of the process on the system of change and transformation. But let's bring it back down to, well, that's Jesus. I'm not like Jesus. Well, let's bring it back down to say, so you can understand how you are like him and how you do go that. And the best example we've got of this in nature to start out with is the caterpillar. So the caterpillar goes through its life, being a caterpillar, doing what a caterpillar does. And then that natural inclination and urge to move on comes. And not knowing what it's about, it builds a cocoon. Sounds like the tomb, doesn't it? And you see, it builds the cocoon and it goes through a metamorphosis in there, which is probably pretty messy and yucky, I would imagine. Okay, so it goes through that change in there. But you see, in the Bible, they call it the tomb. I don't call it the tomb. I call it the tomb and the womb. Because in there, the old is being decimated. In the body, in advanced metaphysics, we call that chemicalization, where the old idea is deteriorated and comes apart, and the new idea held through chemicalization begins to take form in mind, and then that's how it manifests. So a lot deeper, a lot of good place to go with that. Something to put out there to think about. And so that's the process of change or transformation, is giving up of the old. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about the 7 steps required or necessary in transforming our change life experience from the material to the spiritual realm. Okay? And how we're going to look at this is it's going to be the 7 things that Jesus said when he was on the cross. And then after that, there's the 3 days in the tomb. And the 3 days in the tomb are representative of the 3 positions that we have to stand on in order to make the change complete. Okay? So that's what it's about. So the first thing, and by the way, the things that Jesus said come from the Gospels of Mark, Luke, and John. Not in Matthew. All the other stories are in there. But in Luke chapter 23, verse 34, he gives us the first step. Yeah, nobody likes this one. Anybody like this first step? It's called forgiveness. Yeah, forgiveness. He says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Okay? And that means that he's forgiving them through himself. Because, you see, when you're working with forgiveness of anybody, it don't matter to the other person. They don't give a damn about you. Right? They have nothing about you. It's all that the problem about forgiveness is that you're renting space inside of you for them. And you don't want to rent that space out anymore. And ultimately they tell you in the forgiveness stuff, if you could love somebody and forgive them. I could never get to that point with some people. Truth is, basic physics. We're going to go back into physics here. You don't have to love them. You don't have to like them. You do have to be neutral at the minimum. If you like them, that's nice. You can cultivate that. And if you want to cultivate love for them, you could do that too, if you can get there. But there are people that are on the neutral list. And just to make sure, every now and again I'll go through that list, or I'll go through some people and think about them just to see if I have any feelings about them. And if there's nothing there, I know I'm clean. Now, if you can do the loving part and the liking part, that's good. But believe me, you don't have to. But you have to stop renting space in your head for other people. This frickin' political thing we got on is absolute sheer nonsense. It's made some of the nicest people I know be the stupidest people I've ever seen in my life. And say the stupidest things over something that they can't do nothing about except be stupid about. And if you take all that time and energy that you're taking being stupid about it, said, what can I do to make a difference here? And you know, I'm going to tell you what you need to do to make a difference if you want to. Is don't buy into any of it. Hold the line of truth, because somebody's got to do it. And let the rest of the people play the game they want to. I'm not going to be drawn into the pit with that. I've been in the pit with all kinds of issues. I ain't drawn into the pit with that one. Not a frickin' chance. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. You ask me if you haven't heard any stupidity going on from good people. Anyhow, I think that's enough on the forgiveness one, but you understand what I'm coming from, right? Good, okay. The second thing is in Luke chapter 23, verse 43. Make a commitment to change your ways. You got to make a commitment to change your ways. I remembered, it's funny about that, because the thing that pops into my mind was I made a definite commitment the day I got busted and was taken to jail, and my daughters are there and crying, don't hurt our dad. And that's when I decided I'm going to make a change. That's it. I'm changing. Case closed. I'm going to do it. You got to watch it, because God don't take too long to test you. As I was going to jail in the car, the RCMP were prompting me and let me know who ratted me out. Why did they do that? They know who I am and the business I'm in. They knew I'd have to kill the guy. Right? And so there I am going to jail, and I got my first decision. I have to take care of this guy because he ratted me out. Oh, but you said you're going to change your ways. Didn't take very long. That's when I decided, no, I'm not doing it anymore that way. And that was the first decision. Didn't take long once I made the declaration, a half hour. So here, it was Jesus on the cross, and Luke 23:43, and it's make a commitment to give up your old ways. And he said, verily I say unto thee, today thou shalt be with me in paradise. So there he's strung up between two bandits. One guy's just a jerk, and one guy recognizes that, hey, you know, I made a mistake, and he comes with genuine atonement and a desire for grace, and Jesus granted it to him because that's what he believed, and that's why he said, today you shall be with me in paradise. So we've got to make a commitment to changing the old ways. I worked with two brothers in a prison, and they were both in there for several years, both bad guys, and one of them had nothing to do with me, and the other guy worked with me, got out, went back, got an education, upgraded, and went and graduated with a diploma from Satan, some kind of technical thing. Eh? Both the same chance, both the same opportunity, both in the same hole. Just like the two bandits. No different. Make a commitment to change your ways. The third thing, no matter how bad or what the transformation is that we're going through, we have to accept responsibility for our human obligations. No matter how bad and how much you're getting the crap kicked out of you, there's certain things you got to get up and do every day. And certain people you have an obligation to look after, like a child, a dog, parent, somebody. And so in John chapter 19, 26 and 27, he said unto his mother, Mother, behold thy son. Then he says to his disciple, Behold thy mother. And so that was Jesus' way of passing his duty off to care for his mother, because that was a retirement plan in those days. Apparently, still is in some cultures, right? So he passed that responsibility on to his disciple. So we got to take care of our human obligations. The fourth thing is Mark chapter 15, verse 34. And it's persist until you succeed. Anybody get started on a good idea and quit? Yeah. Anybody do it more than once? 10 times, 15, 20 times? Sure. Anybody failed at anything? I listen to the guy, I failed at relationships, I failed at businesses, I failed at all kinds of stuff. But real clear here, folks, just because you failed, that's part of life, but you're not a failure. Do not buy into the fact that I'm a failure. That's a lie. You might have failed at things, yeah, so what? But you're not a failure, right? So persist until you succeed. And Jesus said in Mark 15:34, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Even Jesus, in the darkest of times, slipped away from that faith. He slipped away from that position of being centered. So, next time you're having a hard time, don't beat yourself up. Just say, Jesus didn't do it that way. That was the human part of him speaking. Because he was in a human experience in a human body. Regardless of all the other stuff they tell you, that's a fact. He wasn't 6'1", long hair, and blue eyes and white neither, but that's another story. Then, here we go. And this is in John chapter 19, verse 28. Maintain your faith during duress. And he says, I thirst. So, during the time that you're going through the trials and tribulations, the I thirst is mean drink from the water of life. No matter how hard it is, keep focused on the Spirit and allow your drinking internally to come from that. And you'll always get what you need, and your thirst will be satisfied. The sixth step, John chapter 19, verse 30. It is finished. So, anytime we go through trial or tribulations, and eventually we come to a point where we know, yeah, I'm just about through this. The tough parts happened. I don't know what to do next. I'm totally at a loss here. So that's the part where the acceptance comes in, that you've done everything you need to do, and now it's time to let God do it. Because you can't do it all yourself. Nobody I know has ever been able to predict the next step in a lot of cases, including myself, and I watched for it for 25 years. 100% right. I've never got it right once. And here you are. Oh, this one, number 7, I did not do well when I started. Father, into thy hands I commend thy spirit. Luke chapter 23, verse 46. And that is surrender, the power of surrender. That means that you're stepping into the realm where you have the faith, the trust, the confidence, and the knowingness that whatever it is that comes next, the Spirit's going to guide you and give you and lead you. And you know, it's a lot easier to come in that place when you're desperate and you got no other way you can figure it out at a human level. But we ought to try it on inspiration too. It works a lot better. We don't get to desperate. But we've got to do that. And I got to tell you, when I ain't surrendering to nobody. You know, take a lot of cops by the guns to make me surrender. Which it did, by the way, but that's another story. And I really had an issue with this. I wouldn't even consider using that term for the first, 4 years I was in this. Until I got my butt kicked so badly I had no choice but to say, I don't know what to do anymore. And then it comes, oh, I think I just surrendered. Okay? You got it? And so those, when you're going through change or transformation, those are the 7 steps that you've got to take into consideration. Because the crucifixion is really hanging up and letting go of the old, letting it die. And then we go into the tomb after that. And I call it, let God closes one door, opens the other one, then it's hell in the hallways that we got to go through. Well, the tomb is the darkness. It's the womb. This is where the processes are happening that we don't see. But they're happening inside of us, eh? And then the other is the resurrection, or the new person that steps out the other side. If you don't think that really happens, I think you might say that I'm a little bit different than when I was running roughshod in the gang and drug business. I'm a totally different person. In fact, I even find a hard time writing about it because I'm trying to write a book about it because I can't believe I actually was like that. But I was. What are you going to say? So the 3 positions that we need to stand on to solidify the change is the 3 days in the tomb that represents it. So the first thing that we've got to work with is non-resistance. Quit resisting and fighting with the change. Kicking and screaming we go along the way. Drugged by our hair when it's for our own good. Don't fight the change. Go with it. Non-resistance. Stay out of the fear, the doubt, the worrying, the anxiety, the negativity, the hatred, the animosity. Stay away from that and embrace the idea that the intelligence with you, in you, actually knows what to do. Pay attention, it'll tell you. The second thing is realize our divine ideal. And the divine ideal is just what I said, that we get into the non-resistance and realize that it's that part of us, higher power, soul, spirit, ook-bly-gook, it don't matter what you want to call it, that works through us, for us. And what I always do to help with that is to say, my soul knows where I need to go and what I need to do to experience peace, prosperity, fulfillment, and happiness. Does it work? I've been using that for 20 plus years, and I feel that it's working for me. Because I'm experiencing a whole lot of that. Most of the time. Be real clear, most of the time. And then the last thing here, and this might sound simple, but have your demonstration. So step through and let go, and you're in your new job, your new career, your new home, your new whatever. Accept it. And we have to accept that we're worthy, we're valuable, We deserve it, and we need to work on that, because sometimes we get into that new experience and we can't stand there because of all the stuff that keeps chirping from the past. And that's what it is, the past. What are you going to listen to? And so those are the ideas of the Easter story from a point of view of metaphysics, and about how change and transformation happens within each and every one of us. And you say Jesus went through that experience. Well, he knew he was going to go through it. He could have ran and hid and took off. Lots of people would have hit him. He went through it to demonstrate control and mastery over the physical experience. And that's what he had. And the resurrection, anybody here been resurrected in this life so far? Yeah, I have been, I know that. Yeah, you all have been. It's just that it may not be as dramatic. Nobody strung you up and, did all those things to you. Actually, you see, the truth is you don't need anybody to do that, because you do it yourself. Oh, it's just terrible. So, the person that you're going to have to confront for the rest of your life that's going to really be an adversarial is what you've done with yourself. And that's what I call it. It's a prison of our own mind, because that's not the truth of who we are. It's just the lies we've accepted and fed ourselves. That's all. Somebody says, I don't lie to myself. Everybody lies, and I can prove it if you want, but we're not going to do it today, because, we want to end on a happy note. So, as we go forward into this coming experience and journey, let's embrace the idea of change and transformation, and know that our job is to stand in the light and to listen to what the light says, and to do it whether we like it or not, whether it makes any sense or not. We need to do what Spirit gives us to do, and sometimes it's the most insane things, but they got to be done. I've done more crazier things than I've ever thought I would do just because I was told to. So I know that for you and I, that we are divinely guided, led, directed, and inspired in Spirit at all times and in all situations. And we clearly see the messages Spirit's delivering to us, and we act upon them accordingly and embrace the greatness that comes for us that we so richly deserve. So I declare it, I accept it, I know it to be so, and so it is. Whee!